This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows.
This week, Quark, episodes 2 and 3.
Your mission is to guarantee the signing of the treaty by completing an extended romantic interlude with the ruler of Camamore, Princess Karna.
I already had an interlude with the Princess Karna.
How considerate of Palindrome to reunite you, sir.
Yes. Yes. The women of Camamore are known for their passions. Camamorian men never live past 25. Most never survive the honeymoon.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that ages 2 years for every episode of Quark we watch. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
Just getting homesick from my old black hole.
Oh, God. Are we starting already with this?
That was a line.
It's a good line. That's a good line. Yeah.
Well, today we're joined by returning guest Jane. Welcome back, Jane.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back for Quark. Now, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Ever heard about Quark before?
Never heard about Quark before.
I don't think anyone has.
Had you guys heard about Quark?
No, but you are a big original Star Trek fan. So I was wondering, since there's a bit of crossover here.
Is there crossover? Aside from just sound effects?
I mean, they're taking. I mean, it's pretty much a direct parody of the original Star Trek.
Oh God, don't even get me. I don't even know where to start with this thing, and I'm sure Luke will tell us where to start with this thing. But I had never heard of it before.
Unrelated, I was thinking of something. Doesn't this feel like a show that should have been on in like 67, not 77?
It does feel a little bit late.
Yeah. That's it. All right, everyone's agreed.
All right, well, actually, let's talk about this, Jordan. The creator of Quark, Buck Henry.
Yeah.
Jordan, this got to be a hero of yours, right?
Well, he's not a hero of mine, but I was surprised that he was involved because of the quality of this and then the quality of other things he's done.
What had he done? I looked him up and now I've forgotten. He did like something like really amazing.
He's had 2 nominations for Academy Awards.
Yeah.
One for the screenplay for The Graduate.
The Graduate, that's right.
And one as Best Director in Heaven Can Wait. And he also created Get Smart, which has a very similar kind of tone, but that seems to hit the beats and this does not.
This just felt like someone had written the plots on the back of a napkin and been like, let's go with this. Like I felt like I was watching a high school skit every episode.
Well, Mel Brooks created Get Smart with him, so maybe it's the lack of Mel Brooks.
It's a bit. I think maybe a co-creator thing, potentially. But you're right. Like he wrote Graduate, he co-directed the Heaven Can Wait, but he also wrote Catch-22.
That's right.
Directed by Mike Nichols. Like this guy has a very esteemed resume.
You know, I was thinking about that too, because I did remember seeing that he wrote The Graduate, and I was like, maybe he was just absentee. Like sometimes you have producers who are working on a show or they're working on 2 shows at once, or something happens in their lives and they've got their name attached to something, but then they don't do enough passes on the scripts and they don't show up in the cutting room and they literally just let the thing. I've seen that happen before. Like they just let the thing flounder because they're busy doing something else. And then you end up with these TV shows where you have a really big name on something and you're like, how does this even exist?
It's a good question.
Being so horrible. Like I just wonder. I'm like, maybe he had a family emergency during the production of this
I think there's
show.
There's also might be some casting issues. Now, my feeling is, I think maybe everyone they cast is wrong.
Not according to Richard Benjamin, who plays Quark.
Is that right? What does he say?
He had worked with Buck Henry before.
Oh, really?
He was in Catch-22.
Who was he in Catch-22?
He's Major Danby.
You know what? I'd have to rewatch. It's been so long since I've seen
it. And they did another movie together called First Family that Buck Henry wrote and directed. But he apparently, according to the trivia on IMDb, he saw the announcement for this in Variety while he was at the dentist and called his agent immediately and was like, I got to get this part. I love working with Buck Henry. So like he pursued this part passionately.
Yeah, to his big detriment.
Doesn't mean he was right for the part though.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Who would have been right for this part?
He was the most right for his part compared to the other actors in this show.
Yeah,
but
I think you're right.
Really not saying much at all.
It's just a show with all thankless parts.
Yeah, both are true.
I actually think he could be good. Like, there's a version of the show that's better written where he's a good actor.
I'll tell you, we'll be going into this, but if Quark was evil Quark all the time, I like this show more.
All right, well, let's just get into it then. Shall we get into the IMDb summary for episode 2?
Yeah.
The Old and the Beautiful.
And we teased this on the last episode.
That's true. I've cut this down significantly because this guy who's writing the summaries for these he's just writing out the entire episode, so very short. The head gives Quark a mission to spend an extended romantic interlude with a princess. That was courtesy of H. Pie.
That's the summary?
No. His summary was like 7 paragraphs.
Okay.
That was the first line of his summary.
Right, because
Oh,
that's
H.
just
Pie.
basically the inciting incident of a weird, meandering story that literally makes no sense.
Okay, so this isn't going to ruin anything because you just explained what the plot is. Was the actual mission that he had to go sex up a lady?
Yes.
That's the actual mission.
That is
Yes.
his mission
okay.
that he was given.
Because it felt like that's exactly what it was, but then maybe, I didn't know if it's just because it was the 70s, they were trying to fluff around that a little bit by
Well,
not
they
like
kept
coming...
calling it a romantic interlude.
Yes, but we were all on the joke, like, and the audience at the time was in on the joke, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we all
Okay.
knew that's
Everyone
exactly
knew.
what.
Well,
Okay.
that's how it starts. It's on the space station Perma 1. We get to see that little hairy alien again, that little cousin.
What
do you
is
know his
with
name
that
is?
rapey little dog? Oh my god, that he just runs around and tries to come on to people in Mission Control.
The little Harry?
Yeah.
His name's Dink.
His name is Dink.
Gosh, I just wrote
Sorry.
it down as a rapey dog. He's at the beginning of every episode
mean,
trying to
was
like harassing
Jane.
the women.
He looks like a
Doesn't it?
Labrapoodle, doesn't he?
He does, but he's very rapey. And all he does is harass the women in the Mission Control with the support of the other characters.
He's a scamp.
He definitely, any scene with him is him attempting to pick up a woman.
Right. And somebody helping him. In this case, in the beginning of this episode, it was his boss, Palindrome,
Yeah,
who gives him
Palindrome.
advice on how to better harass people in the workplace.
I mean, if anyone knows, it's Palindrome.
Yeah.
As you'll see from all the female characters in this. This is the time and the place to harass a lady.
That is what women in the workplace are for.
Yeah. Well,
I will say
on the whatever the ship is called, I can't remember.
the Perma 1,
Perma 1, yeah.
the space
What is
station,
his ship's name, actually?
has no
Doesn't
name.
even have a name.
Has
does
no
it?
name.
Oh.
It is a garbage
ship.
But yes, the head gathers Quark and 2 other commanders together and hands out missions to them. And I like that one of the alien commanders looks like a Halloween costume version of the District 9 alien.
A little bit, yeah.
It's got those like weird dangly face bits like
I
the
think
little
that's
bug.
the same alien I was hoping is what the Gorgons were going to look like. But I missed the episode what the Gorgons look like, so apparently they just look like people.
They just look like people.
Boring.
Slightly tanned people.
Slightly
actually.
tanned people.
Ooh, scary.
Yeah. And this is where I was just like, what is going on? Like the laugh, I'm sure you guys talked about this in the first episode, but the laugh track on this show is so weird. Like they just turn it on at the
I know.
most random
It's-
times.
It's good because it's sort of a half-hearted laugh. Like even they knew by adding a laugh track, it's not going to make people think it's funny. So just throw it in every now and then, but it's not even always on jokes. It's just
well, in this case, when the alien said something in his alien language, the laugh track went off. And I'm like, is this supposed to be, like, are we supposed to be laughing at the fact that this alien has a language? Like, it
No,
doesn't
that's a
even make
problem
any
from the
sense.
last episode too. Is that they throw it on and drown out dialogue with the laugh track.
Yeah.
Which
I just
is
didn't
insane.
understand if it was supposed to be funny or...
I think Dink's pretty funny.
There's just an editor somewhere being like, laughs now?
Like, there hasn't been laughs in like a minute and a half. Let's just throw them in.
But yes, the head hands out some missions, and Quark is expecting to get his typical pickup garbage. He's like waiting for it. But what he is given is a beautiful romantic interlude with a beautiful princess. It's a top secret mission though, so he won't get the details until he gets to the Calazir space corridor, and then he'll be filled in on this princess he gets
that what
to
they called it?
interlude with. Yes, the Calazor space corridor.
Sure.
Someone's having fun writing
Yeah.
these terms at least. But so they're on their way to the space corridor, and obviously the Bettys aren't happy about this mission.
The Bettys, okay, so as I was watching these episodes, I was starting to make notes about the Bettys, and for reasons that I will explain later, I'm pretty certain that the Bettys are psychopaths. Like,
Oh,
they're,
interesting.
They're actually insane. So, but yeah, for now, they're just jealous that he's going to have a romantic interlude with
Yeah.
somebody who's not them.
Yeah.
And it was still unclear to me whether Quark was into the Bettys or not. Like whether he likes the attention he gets from the Bettys, but he doesn't take them seriously as romantic partners, I guess, because
I mean, so far the only thing they've really done is be like, I'm only interested in the non-clone Betty, but I don't know which one that is. And so that has been the only stumbling block it seems to have been between them.
I see. That is because he doesn't know which one's a clone. He can't have either of them. But if he figured out which one was which, then he would have the human one.
I mean, that is the only stumbling block
I
they've
didn't
set to
get
stop
that.
that.
I like
from
I like that
happening.
you keep saying he would have her. Yes, he would have
He
her.
would have her. That's how he would think about it, I'm sure.
She could be halved.
Yeah.
Yes. As they're not happy about it, but on the way to the mission, they run into a space baggie, which is a bag of garbage floating in space. I guess it's been dumped by someone. They're like, well, got to do our job and pick up this garbage. And we get to see the model, which is very like Thomas the Tank Engine or something, because little grabby hands come out and like it puts it in the spaceship's mouth, and the mouth like eats the bag of garbage.
But there's a problem.
The garbage chute.
Yeah,
jams.
It's broken.
It jams.
The spaceship itself only seems to have room for one
Yes, I know.
giant bag of garbage, which I'm sure you guys already discussed. So I don't know how he goes around and picks up garbage. He must pick up one bag at a time and then
it's
go back
much
to Perma
roomier
1.
on the inside.
Well, I mean,
It's like the tent from Harry Potter
Yeah.
where there's more inside than you know.
those bags of garbage, I mean, considering the scale of that ship must be
Those are gigantic bags.
enormous.
Yeah.
They're like moon-sized bags.
Yeah. And who ties them? Like that. Think about the size of the tie at the
Think
top
about
of the
it,
bag.
Jordan.
I can't.
Like it would
Your
require
mind is just
many men. Like,
Reeling.
I can't believe that you've already given this much thought to it. I was like, hey, look, green garbage in space. Huh.
But yes, Quark goes down to fix the hull, which is very funny that the commander is also in charge of general maintenance. But he goes down to fix the jammed garbage chute, and when he comes back up, he's looking 10 years older.
Yeah.
Which, if someone hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have noticed the first time he came up.
Yeah, it's a little subtle at first. I think
It's
he
a
might
little
just have a
subtle.
little bit gray hair or something.
Yeah, it was just the gray, and then it
But
obviously
as the
continues
episode
on.
goes on, he will get older and older. And I will say this for the old age makeup in this episode. They really focused on the eyebrows.
Yeah, I know.
And I actually don't think enough old age makeup focuses on the eyebrows, because his eyebrows get wild the older he gets.
Well, so he ages 2 years every hour.
yes.
But they sort of hit, I don't know how old he's supposed to be at the end, let's say 85.
Right.
And that's kind of it. I was really hoping he'd just keep shriveling and shriveling
Getting
and
worse
shriveling
and
getting
worse.
worse. But they sort of hit like big eyebrow time, and that's as far as they go.
Big eyebrow, totally bald on top, but long on the sides.
So what happened is he went down to get the garbage and contracted a virus from the garbage, which I actually thought was not a bad plot to start. For a little silly thing, I was like, yeah, garbage, it's dirty. He got a virus. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know, then they just don't know where to go with it.
Well, Ficus keeps trying to come up with solutions for how to cure him of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what some of his solutions are,
I know what the eventual solution is, but I don't know what the other suggestions were.
Jane?
In the early part, well, I remember he was trying to figure out what was wrong, and he was like, it is just obnoxiously, he was like, it is possible that you were actually in the garbage chute for 10 years. And he was like, no, I was down there for 5 hours. Then Pike was like, well, then clearly that is not an option. Like, it was just, they developed this, like, what I think they thought was some kind of clever banter between Quark and Ficus that just
they're a real
went
Spock
on and on.
Kirk.
It was so annoying.
Just a real Spock and Kirk.
Oh my god, it was the worst, some of the worst stuff I'd ever heard. It only got worse when Quark is supposedly getting older and older and older. So not only is he bantering with Ficus, but he's just repeating the things that Ficus says.
That's true. There's a
so
period
bad.
when he gets old, he just stops having dialogue. He just repeats whatever's said to him. But here are the solutions they come up with. One, they try a transfusion with a transmute, Gene the transmute.
Which, so
They try that, yeah.
well, they try it. Gene does not consent to the medical procedure.
He does not.
And then they just knock him out and do it anyway.
I think he gives
I think
a Vulcan
Gene
neck
might have,
pinch,
though.
a ficus neck pinch.
Oh, Gene did, but
Yeah,
Gene didn't.
that's
yes,
right.
yes. The other side
We
of
can talk a
Gene.
little bit about Gene and Gene at some point later. I'm so confused by
By the performance or by the idea?
by the premise of it. Completely confused because he /she, because it's this very horrible, like homophobic, transphobic idea of him having two chromosomes or two sets of chromosomes. But he also seems to have a split personality where the male part of him and the female part of him not only think and feel different things and have completely opposing opinions about pretty much everything, but also seem to have had differing life experiences. as he describes it later on in the episode. And so I'm just totally confused as to how this even works.
That's kind of what I settled on last episode too. So I'm like, this is more of a split personality than it is anything else.
Totally. A split personality that like did completely different stuff as one personality or another personality. Because at one point he goes, I remember joining the cadets. And then the female version remembers dating a cadet. So the male version of him was a cadet and the female version was dating cadets. So they were having completely different life experiences as a split personality. I don't know where to start.
You can find this all in my fan fiction as to what exactly happened. Yes, well, getting back to the transfusions, they attempt a transfusion with Gene against his will. That doesn't work. They try electroshock therapy. He tries electrocuting him.
Right.
That doesn't work. And then I think he pretty much runs out of ideas at that point. Like this is like all the attempts they make to cure him of this like constant aging, and eventually they just sort of give up and are like, well, you're going to die.
And meanwhile, they're still on the way to meet this princess, and he's still supposed to have sex with this princess.
And I like that that's the crux of the episode is, wouldn't it be terrible if you had this done deal? You're going to go have sex with this lady, but you're getting too old. You're going to be too old to have sex with this lady. That's it. That's the plot of this episode.
That is the plot of the episode.
This is a great plot. We should write it for Black Mirror. A guy gets a Tinder date, but he's now suddenly getting old. You got to get there before he gets too old. It's a Black Mirror episode for sure.
I don't know about that.
That sure stinks.
This is much worse. This is much worse.
All right. Well, they're headed that direction. They finally get the coordinates for where they're headed and some information on this romantic interlude, who the princess is, and they get the secret orders, which are, because he's so old he can't figure them out. But I do like when they call in palindromes like, here's your secret code. The baby with the booty brought the body with the baggie.
Hey, why not?
And they have to translate that secret code. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the only part that
But the two options for the translation, he's like, I forget what he said, but it's like it either means this or it means that. Neither of them have anything to do with his mission.
No, nothing.
It either means like go home or destroy yourself, but in no case does it mean like continue on a mission or go do this or anything that.
It's just because he doesn't remember what was said to him, and Ficus has to like figure it out for him. It's a very random. It's a very as he gets older, he gets more useless, and it just makes it harder on the show because
and he just keeps repeating.
They wrote themselves into a corner, and they're like, "We'll just keep going." I guess.
But then also performance-wise, he just gets quacky, and he starts like basically quacking at people as this old person.
Well, you've seen how older people are like. They're exactly like that.
They're exactly like that.
Yeah.
They repeat what you say and they quack at you.
The orders are, though, he's going to have this romantic interlude with Princess Karna of the Camorra race. This is to secure a treaty they've been negotiating with them to like help fight the Gorgons.
Here's what we know about her. She loves baths.
She loves a bubble bath.
Yeah, it's true. What we come to find is Quark has actually had a previous interlude with her in his younger days. So she's requested him specifically. So she calls at some point to be like, hey, can't wait for you to get here. And she sends like a video message of her in a bubble bath saying, looking forward to it. I can't wait for your, how does she put it? His masculine strength and power.
Right.
Which is never has this actor been compared with those words. No offense to him. He contains none of those ideas.
Yeah.
But Jordan, you must have liked this because there's time for more ingestion.
Oh yeah, I do
so
like the
gross.
ingestion. It's a funny idea, and it never quite lands in this, but I do like that they all just sit down with the tubes
and they just have it shoved out their throat.
Yeah. But do the Bettys have to help him?
The Bettys help him eat, and then like Gene comes along and he uses the ingestion tube after him. Then he's grossed out that he used the old man's ingestion tube. That's the whole gag.
Gene has his own subplot, which is he's terrified of catching the virus.
Yeah. Although right at the beginning, when they say that he has a virus, Gene like slaps him on the back and like but before he even refuses the blood transfusion, he's like blah blah, and he just touches the guy. So it's like, if you're that afraid of a virus, why are you even touching this person?
I see no inconsistencies in the show.
But Gene is like, you guys notice how punchy he is? Like he's always hitting people, slapping
that's because he's a real man.
Threatening people.
When he's a real man, he's like that.
He's like that.
He's certainly
such a dick.
Added a level of violence to him. I mean, immediately after this, they get into a Gorgon attack, and Quark can't command because he's so old, and Gene immediately wants to run a mutiny.
Gene is always trying to take over the ship.
Well, that's the next episode too. He tries to run
Yeah.
a mutiny. Like, it seems to be Gene's core character now. Is the joke is he's trying to run a mutiny. Is that how you say it? Run a mutiny.
I think weirdly they've actually tried pushing the idea of Gene's character a little bit more since the beginning of the show, and now at first it was sort of like when he's a man, he's pretty competent, and aren't women annoying? And then it's become now when he's a man, he's almost overly aggressive and violent, and the woman is still just kind of annoying.
Yeah. There's no way that he does anything constructive. All he does is threaten people, hit people.
No,
and
he really has no purpose per se.
He has no. I don't understand. Like, this whole show just boggles my mind.
One fun thing though, what Palindrome calls them at one point, and when he's talking to them, he's got a see-through piece of paper.
Yes.
I was like,
yes.
that was pretty good.
Yeah.
You gotta find some silver
with the
lining.
orders on it.
Yeah, with
and
the
then
orders on
he
it.
rips it up.
Well, let's go back to this Gorgon attack really quickly, because Quark discovers very quickly he's unable to command, so he kind of gives up command, and it gets passed along to the second in command, which is Betty, which Gene is very upset about.
Yeah, so the Bettys are actually second in command of this ship, which
Yes.
this was news to me because I don't know if I did watch the first couple episodes and I did not learn that the Bettys were second in command of the ship. But they're completely
Missed that star note.
they're completely incompetent.
Yeah,
Gene is a dick to them, and they suck at command because they can't agree on anything. At one point, Gene says, "Make up your minds," and the robot, who is also sexist, says the only things they can make up are their faces.
Zing.
Zing. I mean,
To be fair, that's a pretty good joke for this show. That's pretty good for the level of jokes. Like usually it's just someone walks down a hallway and the laugh track
And the
goes.
laugh
You're like,
track goes, I
whoa,
know,
what
that's
just
true.
happened?
Yeah.
At least they tried there.
But yes, this is what happened. Gene wants it. He doesn't get it. Goes to second command. The Bettys can't make up their minds. Ficus, I guess, is not allowed to do anything. The robot's just freaking out. And then finally Quark takes command again and says, shoot them.
And then the Bettys do some awesome, so the Bettys are actually really good at targeting.
Yeah, they
this
it's like
ship.
I don't think they missed once.
They're great,
They fire twice. And
but they just couldn't decide whether or not to fire
It-
initially, which was their flaw, their fatal flaw.
It was-
the decision.
it was
Their
just,
fatal feminine flaw.
Yeah, that's what it was.
the scene was just weird because, yeah, like, it's just non-important to the show. Then the obstacle is just like someone just had to push fire
Yeah.
and no one could decide to hit that button.
Right.
They always seem to run out of time on the show, but not because they've had to jam so much stuff in, just because they've just been sort of running around wasting time. And then they're like, oh yeah, there was a plot to this, right? Oh yeah, blow up the ship. That was it.
Well, that's it. And now let's go back to the plot because they arrive at the Camamor world, and Quark is a very old Quark now is
Yeah.
transported down to the planet directly into the princess's bathtub.
Yeah. Wait, can we just say this is where I started to suspect that the Bettys were psycho, because as he's sitting on the transport pad in the ship,
Right.
the Bettys are now like really happy. They're like, I feel so close to you now that you're about to die. Like they're proud and happy that he's going down to
die
have
a hero.
sex and die with this woman,
See-
whereas previously they had been jealous. And so I'm like, what is going on with
See,
these
I actually
people?
thought the reason they were like that was because they knew he wasn't going to be able to perform. So they were happy because he was going down there, but nothing was going to happen.
But they seemed happy that he was going to die.
Well, that's something we've kind of skipped over here. Is the Camor women kill their lovers? They're so powerful in bed. Most of their lovers die, and Quark was lucky to get out alive the last time he did this.
When he was much younger.
So now that he's an 85-year-old man, they're basically sending him to his death, they think, in this beam down.
Yeah. But they also know that he's going to age to like he's both
Yeah.
going to be
He'll either-
sexed to death
he'll
by
either-
the woman
he'll either
and
sex to death
aged to death
or
by
die
the
of old
virus.
age.
That's right. But the Bettys seem like kind of cool with it and weirdly proud that they're connected to him in this way. So I was just like, okay, these bitches are weird. So yeah, anyway, yes, he gets beamed down into the bathtub.
yeah, he gets right in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And here's the weird thing about... Do we ever get the princess's name?
Karna.
Princess Karna. She's not nearly as phased by how old he is as I would be.
Well-
If I was expecting someone and I hadn't seen them in a long time and they came and they were 50 years older than I'd expected, I'd have a bigger reaction, I think.
That's-
She
that's
did
fair.
notice that he was older.
Well, she noticed, but she wasn't
But she
just
didn't
like...
care.
She
Wasn't
didn't...
off-put by
She
it.
didn't... She wasn't like... Ugh.
What was she dressed as, Jordan?
Was she dressed like as... it was like a Wonder Woman-esque outfit,
Yeah,
right?
she was a knockoff Wonder Woman outfit.
Yeah.
Like, it just had a star on the chest, but
Yeah.
otherwise it was
Yeah.
a cape.
But it was red and white. There was no blue on it. It was red and white and gold, I think, with a cape. Yeah.
And it was... There's a certain fit that women had to wear in the 70s of these sorts of things that I don't know what it was about it, but something's kind of weird happening.
Well, it's with the kind of the pointy boobs
Yeah,
and the
maybe that's what it
cinched
is.
waist and
I think that's right. Yeah, it's the weird corset inside. And you're
Yeah.
like, something is weird here with your body.
yeah, so it looks like very triangular shaped. It was very common.
Anyway, she looked good.
And
she seemed actually like a nice person. Like when they did her initial transmission from the bathtub, it was like she was this sex pot that was like ready to devour her prey. But then she came over and she just seemed like this nice lady who was like, "Oh, you're so much older than I thought." Well, that's okay. We can still have sex. Like she was just kind of fine with everything.
Well, she doesn't say that. She keeps saying we can keep having our interlude.
Right, the interlude.
it's an interlude.
Yeah.
Of
You
course,
guys,
they
don't
can't
be
say
crass.
sex on
Don't
it.
be crass. But yes, it is true. They have a conversation. He explains the situation, and he begs her. He's just like, "I'm sorry, I'm so old now, but will you please still sign this treaty with my government?" And she's like, "Of course I will. It doesn't matter." She's like, "And I've never had an interlude with someone who's over 25 years old before, so I'm kind of into this. I'm kind of into you as an old man." And her two like helpers like get him to the bed, and we kind of cut away as she goes in for a kiss, which is very gross. Very gross watching her kiss him as an old man. Quick little side note though, those handmaids who came out. Mm-hmm. Did you check the IMDb trivia?
No.
One of them's Christy Alley.
No way, really?
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
first role. Christy Alley is one of those.
Oh,
handmaids.
that's pretty fun.
I should watch for that. You got to put that on the Instagram.
I went
Will
back
do.
and there's a brief second where you can really like pick out her face. I'm like, oh man, that's her, all right.
What a start.
That was her start. This is where she cut her teeth, watching an old man
Have an interlude.
have an interlude. But they cut back to the crew, and they're calling down to the planet to basically retrieve Quark's body now that the interlude is over. And
They're all kind of okay with the fact that he's dead. I mean, the whole time leading up to it, Quark didn't even seem that distressed that he was going to die. Really.
He was just
overall.
quacking around.
There's a real fatalism on the show. Like almost every episode is they're sending Quark on a mission to die, or they're going to kill Quark, or Quark's going to die through some mishap, and everyone is like, even Quark himself is just like, of course I'm going to die. Look at me.
But he does not die.
When he's beamed back up, he is completely rejuvenated, much to everyone's surprise. He's a young Quark again, or however young Richard Benjamin is in the show.
Everyone's about, what, like 38?
Probably ish. Well,
Not the Bettys.
the Bettys are younger, and Gene's probably like 30. That guy.
He could be like 27. It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. It's a different time.
70s men are hard to nail down.
Yeah. They look much older
He's like,
than
he's
they are usually.
22?
Ficus is able to piece together that this his increased heart rate and breathing during the interlude had put the virus temporarily into remission.
Yeah.
And there's only two ways that now to get rid of the virus. He could either be cured with a 7-day romantic interlude, which the Bettys are very into, or while he was gone and assumed dead, Ficus finally figured out a cure for the virus, and he just like pits it in his hand. He's like, "But you're cured now, so don't worry
And
about
then the
it."
Bettys are so disappointed that he's
Yeah.
cured of the virus because
Yeah.
they wanted to have the romantic interlude with him.
And now you can't. There's just no reason to.
Yeah. There's no reason, because if it's not saving, a medical tragedy, no point.
And it ends on what is the craziest thing, and they didn't do it in the next episode, but I thought might become like a regular thing in the show, is there is like about 2.5 minutes of voiceover where his star note is, he basically recaps the entire episode in voiceover, and the actor just stares at the camera mugging.
Yeah.
Like he's just like raising his eyebrows, but he's not talking.
Didn't it feel like, even with almost no plot, that they just ran out of time? And they're like, oh, I don't know, just sticking a log at the end.
I think they hadn't written the log when they shot the episode. So they just had him like mug to the camera or
Yeah.
something, and then they had him record it later.
It did feel like it did feel like he was reacting to nothing. He was just like, like just do stuff with your face for about a minute and a half. He was like, okay, eyes up, eyes closed.
Yeah.
Smile.
And there wasn't even any joke in it, except that it was like at the end he was like, "But this isn't the worst experience I've ever had," or something. That was the joke.
That was the joke. Yeah, there was no joke. It was the recap of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a weird show this is.
Such a weird show. I do have to say though that I love the music for this show.
No, the theme song's great.
The theme song is fantastic. And actually, so I watched the first 2 episodes and then these episodes for this podcast the other day. And then today I was like, I should rewatch the episodes again just to make sure that I remember them for today. And when I started rewatching it, I forgot how much I hated the show. When the music came on, I was like, oh no, this is all right. All right. Maybe I was in a bad mood last time. Like maybe I was prejudging it. No, it's absolutely terrible. But the music is aces. I'd
Yeah.
say.
The music's great. I don't think anyone would disagree.
Well, let's get into episode 3 and listen to that music again and
Yeah.
forget all about how bad the show is. Here's the IMDb summary for episode 3: The Good, the Bad, and the Ficus.
Ficus.
What's going on?
It's obvious, Commander.
Yeah, well, it ain't to me.
That black hole we passed through was an anti-universe. What you're seeing is your opposite, your anti-self.
Anti-self?
I thought it was tough being a transmute.
Commander, from what I've observed, I'd say you're face to face with evil Adam Quark.
Listen to the plant, Quark. I'm going to destroy you.
Quark and his crew leave Perma 1 on their usual mission to collect garbage. But this is no ordinary mission. That was courtesy of H. Piley Pie.
It's only going to be this person who writes all the little reviews.
Like I said, this is just the first sentence of about 8 paragraphs.
Right.
Oh, God.
So once again, we kind of are sort of seeing what the mechanisms and the mechanics of the show are. Back on Perma 1, the head's handing out missions to like 2 other commanders this time.
First, the rapey dog is trying to do something.
Oh yeah,
Dink.
Dink's
Dink,
back.
dink, dink.
Cousin It's rapey brother.
Yeah.
And this time, Quark gives him advice and says, "Don't worry, find some other girl to harass or something."
It's just
Yeah.
Don't worry about it too much. Did you catch one of the commanders' names, by the way?
Oh, no. I didn't. What was it?
Commander Black.
Oh, Commander Black. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't.
No one listened. But it doesn't matter because what Quark is given this time is a mission to collect garbage.
Yeah.
Which, do you think, if that's going to be the mechanics where every episode is going to start where he gets a mission to collect garbage, did they jump the gun by having the first episode
Yes.
where they did those mechanics be
Yes.
the one where he didn't get a garbage
Yes,
collection
I
mission?
think that this was supposed to be
Later in the season, right?
this episode was supposed to be earlier
Right,
than
and
last week's episode. Or
Beautiful and the
previous
Old should be like, because I was just like, oh, well, if this is the mechanics, you guys did the joke too soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, the mission kind of starts off with a subplot of isn't Ficus strange? That seems to be like the general theme subplot of this show.
Because we have the two Bettys show off their new outfit to him.
Yes, well, I mean, that's one of the things. The Bettys come out. They have a new outfit. Jane, you want to describe that outfit for us?
Yeah, so they're wearing gold bikini tops and little short shorts with the bikini tops are like tied in the middle
Yeah.
and they are completely like bare midriffs.
Seems like what you'd wear in space.
Is it like
Yeah.
it's like a futuristic, like, what's her name from the one where the car jumps over the Confederate car? Confederate flag
Dukes of
car.
Hazzard?
What's her name in that show? 'Cause
Daisy
what,
Duke?
Yeah, that's kind
Daisy
of what
Duke,
she's wearing.
Yeah,
isn't she?
well, sort
Like a
of.
Daisy Duke
It's-
outfit.
but they're basically shiny gold.
Yeah, they're just
fabric.
future from the future.
Yeah, future stuff. So they're like, hey, do you like our
But
new outfits?
Ficus doesn't like it, so he is crazy.
That's right.
I did like Ficus's argument because this is just a general internet joke now. But they're like after they leave and they're sad because he didn't like the outfit. Quark's like, why didn't you like it? He's just like, it's totally impractical and offers no protection, which is just a joke about like every outfit of all these things
Right.
of all time. Which is weirdly, if it weren't for how everyone thinks he's wrong about it, is a joke ahead of its time. Like that's
Yeah.
a joke that people are making in like 2009 about fantasy shows and like
Right,
these kind of shows. But this show doesn't realize it's like got a funny premise. They're like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're wrong, man who doesn't think these ladies are sexy.
I do like though that he's basically telling Ficus, he's like, you gotta lie to people, and Ficus is like, why? Those would elicit false feelings.
Yeah. Protected feelings are false feelings.
Quark's like, humans love false feelings. Give us those false feelings. He's right. I do love false feelings.
Wouldn't the show title be better if it was called False Feelings?
False feelings. That's
better.
That's a good show title.
Yeah.
I do like it. The other thing we see about Ficus' episode that's a little odd is a runner throughout the show is he has a weird metal, he calls it a gauge, but he has like this metal like muff over top of one of his ears.
It just looks like a pair of headphones where he only has one of the headphones on. Well, that took a long way to get there.
on the side of his head. But
Yeah.
it's like it's supposed to be a joke. It's not funny. It's a running thing where people start to ask him what it is and
And
he starts to explain, but then he gets interrupted.
So yeah, through the entire episode, people will professionally be like, almost get an answer and then move on. What was the final answer to why he's wearing this gauge on the side of his head?
He's wearing it because at that time of year, he gets dried out. And if he didn't wear it, his body would get brown and crumbly or something weird.
His torso and legs become brown and dry.
Brown and dry. And the Bettys are like, your torso and legs would become brown and dry. Like they both repeat what he says in the same voice. I'm just like, this is at the end.
It is weird because why seed that joke and not have a punchline?
No.
Like, and they just keep going back to it. It's almost like, don't worry, viewer, it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be worth it. It's like, oh, he just needs it because he dries out.
Because he dries
Are-
out like
are
a
you
plant.
gonna see that?
Because he's
Nope.
a plant.
Nope,
He's a
not at all.
ficus.
He's a ficus. He's a plant
Yeah.
person. It's such a weird. It was a weird runner that you're right. You keep waiting to finally hear what it's going to be, and in the end, I'm just like, oh well, that wasn't. It's not even part of the plot. Like it's not even like something that affects how they save the day.
Just time wasting.
But let's get to the actual plot of the episode where they, while flying off to get garbage, get sucked into a black hole, which is a fun-ish visual effect. The black hole.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, but it's like a. It's just
It's
very.
campy.
It's
It's
like
a
a
campy
kaleidoscope
effect.
of colors.
Yeah,
and,
it's a campy effect.
But they
Yeah.
also do literally nothing. Like,
Oh,
Ficus
no.
starts to say what's happened and then was like, oh, should I have lied? Is this an example where I should have lied? And Quark's like, yes.
You shouldn't have told us.
You shouldn't have told us we
Yeah.
were going to fly. And it's like, how is that a practical thing for any crew member to do? And then they just start going through the black hole and talking about how they're going to die. And nobody tries to do anything.
Someone at some point says maybe we should turn on a sensor and scan the place, but no one does.
Nobody does anything. They just are like, oh, it's like, again, it's like fatalistic. Oh no, I guess we're going to die.
Well, this
We're
is-
like in the black hole. We're
This
going to
is
die.
like in that first episode where Obi Mudd was still on, and they're flying into he said, I picked up these things in my sensor. We're in some sort of like weird cloud of that might be dissolving, and they're like, all right, well, let's go to have a nap then. Like, whenever danger rears its head, they kind of just lay back and wait to die.
That is an odd thing, isn't it? That none of the characters ever drive the action ever. They just sit back passively and let things happen. And what happens is not much.
I mean, Gene tries to run another mutiny here.
He does.
That's true.
He tries to take
That's true.
over,
It doesn't go though.
but it doesn't go.
And then as they're going through, they realize like, oh, we're just passing through the wormhole, this black hole apparently.
Oh, hooray! We're gonna live! Yay!
And then we see their ship split in two.
Yeah. And let me say, you know exactly what's going to happen here. And I think it's not a bad idea, especially for like a jokey kind of show. And they just didn't do anything with it. It's like the rest of the episode is just, here's what happens. They double. Oh, half of them are evil. Half of them are not evil.
Yeah,
but it just happens that they kind of like talk to each other a little bit. And
It's
that's
an
it.
evil
That's like the
double
whole episode.
Yeah, absolutely. What we see though is evil Quark goes and he blows up the battleship Maya, which basically sets off a whole chain of events back at Perma 1 where Admiral Flint shows up and he's raving mad that Quark, because they don't know there's two Quarks, has blown up one of his finest ships.
Well, and Quark also doesn't know there's a double.
No one knows there's a double. He's basically a parody of like a warmongering general, basically. And he basically holds a kangaroo court for Quark to basically find him guilty of betraying the United Galaxy.
Based on something that he found that Quark had written in like the 4th grade
Yes.
about Gorgons and how Gorgons were silly, or the war was silly or something. I don't remember what it was.
The essay he found was these like, Quark in 2nd grade wrote, "My daddy is big and strong. He always talks about the Gorgons. I think they sound funny." And then this is enough to try him as a Gorgon sympathizer and convict him. And while they're doing that, evil Quark blows up another battleship. So they send out a armada to track him down and kind of kill Quark. And when we hop,
And he kills the other battleship is exactly the same effect shot. It's exactly the same looking ship. It's exactly the same angle, and it's exactly the same. Like it fires on the ship and it explodes.
I
the same
assumed
way.
I assumed at the trial they were watching a playback of the first ship he destroyed until someone's like, he destroyed another ship. I'm like, oh, is that supposed to be
okay.
something new? Okay. Because Quark gets a call from Palindrome telling him like, hey, you're wanted for this attack, but it couldn't have been Quark and his crew because they've been taking naps in their cryogenopods. Pardon me. And Quark immediately suspects that something was up with that black hole they went through. And while they're trying to piece together what it might be, they just bump into the doppelgangers. Like they just kind of like...
They just happen to be in the same area of like space is very small in this universe.
I guess when you come into that black, they weren't that. I guess maybe they just went to sleep and they've always been just floating next to each other.
I like though later on at one, because we'll get into it, but at one point, very soon, they're like, they want to play the idea that they're exactly the same. They're like, they're doing the exact same maneuvers we are, but the two ships are just like barely moving, and they're just going across the screen like, oh, look at those,
Look at the maneuvers.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we do get a quick look at these people and like they're anti-selves from the anti-universe, and. What's the core difference? What would you say the core difference between the characters are?
Anger issues?
Serious anger issues. Like evil Quark is just mad. He just like has like permanent kind of rage.
But it manifests itself in a weird way. It's a lot of yelling and grabbing each other by the collars.
Yeah.
That's really
He's
that's
very
really the
angry
difference.
at his own crew and at Good Quark, whom he already knows. So he knows that Good Quark exists. He knows that he's the evil version. He's mad at the good version, and as we learn later, because of stuff that happened in their childhood. But also, he lives in the black hole.
Also, I don't think the two actresses who played the Bettys understand what being evil is like.
They were being cowboys.
Yeah, it was very odd.
I was like,
it was an
why are
odd
they
choice.
cowboys?
I kept wondering, like, so the evil characters sit back and cross their legs?
Yeah.
That's
And
evil?
have a drawl.
Yeah, it was very weird.
And of course, ficus,
It's the same.
because plants can't be good nor bad.
Yeah.
They're just plants.
I kind of wish they all had mustaches.
And what about Gene?
Gene is a slight...
He's exactly the same.
Gene,
man.
yeah, no, he is.
I
He
think
was
they try to make him a little bit more aggressive, but you're right. We just saw him like 5
Manhandling.
seconds ago. Yeah,
Super aggressive.
Exactly.
It was very funny because I'm like, oh, the joke is ficus is the same, and I was like, but Gene is
Gene is
also
also
the
the
exact same.
Yeah, it's again, it's a fun idea. They don't seem that interested in developing it too much, so it's just a lot of like, I'm evil, and then Quark's like, why are you evil? And he's like, I'm evil, and then like, oh, okay,
They're just,
end of
they're just
episode.
all evil. And I think that he, at some point, Andy the android finally talks to his evil self halfway through the episode, and his evil self is just like, "You're a worthless bag of bolts, a piece of garbage." And regular Andy's just like, "You're right, I am."
Yeah, and he just agrees
Thank
with
you.
him.
Thank you. You're right, I am
Yeah.
garbage. I'm a sniveling weasel.
Yeah, he has some confidence issues.
I like him the most because he has the strongest character as a coward.
Right.
That's the only thing Andy has going for him. But yes, there's a bit of attack that doesn't work because they both mirror each other's movements perfectly. So Quark asks Evil Quark to meet him on an asteroid, the Felix asteroid that happens to be passing by, and they're going to like settle this face to face. Which Evil Quark's like, all right, we'll just have a face to face fight. Sounds good. And they beam down to this asteroid.
And Betty's once again prove that they are psychos because they say to Quark, "We're so proud and excited to be able to say that we knew you." Like they're anticipating that he's going to die, and they're happy about it because they can brag about having known this guy who will be dead.
Everyone wants Quark to die.
Yeah.
Even Quark, he's excited for it. They beam down, and it's a real classic Star Trek away mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like a field in California somewhere.
Running up the side of a hill.
And they get a little tussle down there. Quark eventually gets his hands on the gamma gun that Evil Quark has and kind of forces Evil Quark back to his ship at gunpoint. They beam up there. Quark gives him his big speech about how he's like honorable and he's a hero and they're like the good guys, and he like breaks their weapon system and their navigation system as
Yeah,
he
he's
does
like
it.
he's like monologuing as he's like pulling
Mm-hmm.
like electrical things out of the wall, and it's sparking and blowing up.
But what I find interesting is like there's no jokes in that monologue. It's played very straight.
Super earnest.
It's played very earnestly. And then he just beams back to his ship, and they're like, all right, let's tractor beam this evil ship and throw it back into the room, the black hole where it came from.
Where it lives. So the whole time when they were fighting on the planet, like Evil Quark is saying all of the things that he hates about Good Quark, and it all has to do with like some stuff that happened in elementary school and all of these resentments. But Evil Quark is from the black hole
He's from
and
the
says
anti-universe.
that he misses the black hole. So how could he simultaneously have lived his entire life in the black hole, but also shared existence with Good Quark? And at what point did they split off? Like, it literally makes no sense at all.
Yeah, you can read about it all in my fan fiction of to how this all comes together.
Yeah.
It's very complicated, but it all makes sense.
I think the answer is just physics.
Just physics.
What I did like is, which seems to be the running theme of all these shows now, is they throw him into the black hole, and as he's getting sucked in, they get a call from Evil Quark saying, "You haven't seen the last of me," which is just like the Gorgon leader, who was like, when they blow up a ship, "You haven't seen the last of me." And when they even get back to the space station to clear their names now, Admiral Flint walks out and he's just like, "You've made a powerful enemy, Quark. You haven't seen the last of me." I'm like, does he make a new enemy who's going to come back every episode?
Every time.
Well, it's the writers are like, guys, we spent so much time introducing and developing this character. We can't just waste them in one episode. They've got to come back.
But yes, it's all cleared up. The situation's sort of worked out. Quark is cleared of causing 3 billion round ones of damage. That's their currency.
Oh, is that it?
Round ones.
Round ones.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's better. So what we got is good theme song.
Yeah.
Round ones.
Yeah.
What were the currency in Space Rangers called? It's like space butts. or
no,
something.
Solars.
Solars. I like round
But they
ones
also
better.
called Solars something else too. They used it for everything. No, and something else was good. That rape creature is called Dink.
Dink.
That's
He shows
three
up
things.
at the end and comes onto the Bettys.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. Rapey dog comes onto the Bettys.
Dink, 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 dink.
Oh my god! But yeah, that wraps up that
Another episode.
It's just one thing after another, and then it's over.
It's
Yeah.
over, and Ficus explains the moisture gauge thing at the very end about the brown and brittle thing. The Bettys are into it. Then Quark walks off stage arm in arm with the Bettys,
He's so proud of his crew. He loves them.
while Ficus is essentially harassing Jean by using big words.
Yeah.
Because
like-
Gene's dumb when he's
Because
male
Jean's
version.
so dumb
When he's a lady, though, he's probably very smart.
that when Ficus tries to explain anything, he doesn't get it.
Makes him
And he
very
gets
angry.
angry. It gets super angry.
So did his double, though. The exact same problem.
What I was hoping might happen is that the evil crew and the good crew would realize that they all had something in common in hating Ficus.
There was
Because
no
they
time.
each hated their own Ficus.
That
And the
is
Ficuses
true.
were the
Yeah.
same. But
There was no.
didn't seem to matter.
There's so many more important things to
Yeah.
get to.
They have to cram in so many jokes. There's just no time for all that
so
plot.
many jokes.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Do you guys have any like final notes? Any final stuff that we didn't get to here?
We didn't mention one thing. When Andy's talking to evil Andy and they're arguing, as a response, Andy farts.
Well, I missed that.
Yeah, at the very end of his conversation, he's like, beep, beep, beep. and I wrote that down. I was like, yes. Way to go, Andy. That's pretty good.
I did not notice that. That's very
Yeah.
funny. I have a little piece I saw in the IMDb trivia for this episode, which is going to change everything.
Oh, really?
It's going to change everything, you guys.
Okay.
The female voice for Jean is played by the Quark actor's wife.
Oh, really?
He's not doing that voice.
I knew he wasn't doing the voice.
I thought he was doing
I
the
thought he
voice.
was doing the voice
You know
too.
what? Actually, to be fair, I knew that he wasn't doing the voice live. I could tell that it was a re-recorded voice, but I didn't
Right.
know if it was that actor was doing a female voice like in a sound booth after, or if it was another actress.
This whole time, I thought he was doing both voices.
I did too.
And so when I found out it was actually a woman, like it's very funny. It's Quark, the Quark actor's wife doing it, but that it was a different person coming in to record those lines. I was like, I would love to hear what the original lines were, what his original readings were that they recorded over. So bizarre.
It's so weird. It's the weirdest concept for a show that I've ever, like, someone was like, oh, let's do a Star Trek parody, but like to make the series of decisions that would have had to have been made to create this group of characters and these very strange plot lines that go nowhere. It's very confusing
It
to
is
me.
very strange. Like they really clearly don't care much about the plot or the
don't.
characters. So just like it just leaves this question of like what is the goal? What is your
So
aim?
I had this theory that they just like had a library of sound effects that they wanted to use. Because I was trying to figure out, I'm like, what? So because obviously like Star Trek was in the late 60s and then ended, and it was produced by, I mean, it was aired on NBC, but it was produced by a separate production company. But right around this time was like the animated series, right?
Okay.
Star Trek had the animated series, and I was like, I bet they had to build a sound effects bank for Star Trek the animated series. So they would have taken all of these sound effects from the original show and created like a bank of, and an analog bank of like many reels of sound effects. And then they were like, how can we reuse this and make money? And so they were like, let's make a fake Star Trek show where we can just use all of these sound effects.
I mean, that would be an amazing impetus for this show.
But like, well, I
I
don't,
mean,
I,
what
I
else- what
really
other
don't know what
reason?
else
What
it
other
could be.
reason?
Did you guys notice that in the, and you may have talked about it in the first episode, in the main control room of Perma 1, all of the windows have blue screen behind them, but they're never filled in with space?
No, I hadn't.
Yeah. So all of the shots of there's like windows up high that go all the way around the control center.
Right.
And they all have blue screen, and they never replace. So like somebody at one point was probably like, oh, we'll do blue screen and then we'll replace it with space. They never replaced it with space.
They
It was
they got
blue
to
screen.
post like, oh, never mind.
They were just like, this show is a waste of
They
everything.
know. They just knew everyone was going to be so focused on Dink, they would never look up
They
at the
would
windows.
never look and see.
So terrified of Dink. Is he
Yeah.
around? Is he coming
Yeah.
for me? Oh my god. All right, you guys. Do you want to rate these shows?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with the first episode, The Beautiful and the Old.
So, I mean, initially, like, my initial instinct is to rate it like a 0 because it was just so poorly thought out, and anything that was thought out was like offensive and sexist and horrible.
I
But-
mean, that was the conversation we had last week, very, very passingly, but we were like, How do we do we just turn a blind eye to how problematic this is?
Yeah, because
And we
it
just
is one of those
decided,
things where you
how
have
are
to kind
we-
of like, do you focus on that, or do you just sort of, as terrible as this, kind of give it a pass of a time period?
Well, the thing is I would probably give it a pass if there was anything else, but it's like they literally didn't think of any plots except for random sexist, misogynist things that they could put in an episode.
But you watched the episode where he was supposed to have sex with the princess, but he got old, right? Like, that's a pretty good plot.
That's an amazing plot that somebody thought of over
Yeah.
drinks and wrote on the back of a napkin.
Yeah, on the way to the studio.
So to be fair and to be kind of aware of the time period,
Be fair to Quark. Be fair to Quark.
I'm going to give it a 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. Jordan?
Okay, I'm going to give it a much higher score. Not because I think it's good, but in comparison to... I think because this show is so bad in what it is, I'm going to give it, based on itself, and based on the original 2 episodes, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10.
What?
Yeah.
How?
I think it's slightly better than the first episode. I mean, it's bad.
It's so bad, but it's so
Yeah.
much worse than everything else that you guys have ever watched on this podcast.
Is it?
Everything. Like, it's literally
Well, here's what it's
the
not.
worst written thing I've
Well, here's
almost
here's,
ever
here's
seen
a couple
in my
points.
life.
It's only a half an hour.
That
it's,
is true.
It's light and breezy.
I will. You know what? That is
and when I'm stuck for time, as I've been the last couple weeks, I'm like 25 minutes. Let's do it.
That is
You're
a-
getting a couple points right there.
that is a
Oh,
problem. I
man.
think that our scores are starting to
Yeah.
get skewed by just like the other stuff we have to watch. And it is, and you're right. It's like 25 minutes. What a treat.
Yeah.
Even though it's just the worst thing.
like it's like
So
when we watched Dune was like each episode was like 2 hours long.
So essentially, Jordan, you're saying that this gets a on the good side of Rotten Tomatoes. Like, if this was on the Rotten Tomatoes, you would give it.
no, I know this is bad. I know it's
But
bad.
you gave it a 65%.
no 60 6 out of 10.
60%.
Yeah.
That's still.
all right. Let's
Almost
just move
fresh.
on. Let's just move on. I think I'm going to give it. It's a tough one. I'm definitely not going to go as high as Jordan, but I don't think I'm going to go quite as low as Jane. And I mean, crucify me all you want. Him, that old age makeup, just repeating lines for some reason was the dumbest. Like it was weird and like made no sense and made for a bad show. But I was just like, what is going on here? Why is he in this bald wig? Why does he just repeat lines back to everyone? I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. I'm gonna go with a 3.5
You're going to give it a 3.5 for old man repeating
for the
lines.
old man.
All
I
right.
liked watching him
That's
be
fair.
an old man. I don't know why. It tickled me. And Christy Halley made a guest appearance.
Oh yeah.
If I had
that's
known
right.
that, maybe I would have rated it higher.
All right, let's move on to the good, the bad, and the ficus.
So this one I did find was slightly better than the weird sex treaty one, but once again was very badly written and meandered into nothing. So I would probably give that like maybe a 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
All right. Jordan, you want me to go or do you want to go?
I'll go. I don't want to finish watching this. 6.5.
Ugh.
6.5. What do you mean?
I don't want to take the escape pod.
This is you don't want to finish watching this.
No, yeah, what did I say?
Wait, do you want to finish watching it or you don't want to finish
I don't
watching
want to. I want to keep going forever.
it? Or you don't want to...
Quark.
You don't want to stop. I get it.
Yeah,
So you're trying to counteract my rating
Yeah.
You were
to keep...
I think it was
How many
'cause
more
of the double
episodes?
negative, but I was-
How many
yeah,
more
sorry.
episodes are there? of
There's not
this?
that many. There's like 4 more episodes, I think.
Okay.
Um,
Well, good luck to you.
This was for me. There's nothing for me here. It was like such a missed opportunity with this. I'm like doubles. You can't fuck up doubles. Evil doubles.
yeah.
And I was just like, nothing's happening. No, we're spending more time with this Admiral Flint.
We spent so much time with him.
I'm gonna give this one a 2.
Oh. I'm
I'm
trying, Quark. I'm trying.
Quark. Hold on, Quark. So that means let's fire up the old Continuum Drag computer and just see how we're coming out here,
No.
because it's gonna be tight.
You're not forced to pull the escape pod, are you?
Yeah.
Don't you
Oh,
just
no.
have the option to pull
No,
it if
we
your score's low?
have to. Once it's pulled, we're out. We're ejecting.
I
Once-
should have given zeros then. Forced you out of this horrible.
But people want to hear
loop
more.
of
They want to hear
terror.
more.
Uh-oh, Jordan, do you hear that?
Oh no.
It's the alarms. We're taking the escape pod.
Oh no!
It's clocking in at 4.58.
Oh,
Don't worry, Jordan. We'll get one more. We'll come
Yeah,
back
for the final.
We'll watch the final episode of Quark and close out this series.
I did what I
I'm
could,
sorry,
Adam
Jordan.
Quark. That's all right.
Adam. All right. Well, wasn't that a good time, everybody?
Yeah, not really.
Jane, thanks for joining us once again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, you asked for something now from the 90s, and boy, did I give it to you.
I did. Did I ask for something not from the 90s? Was that a thing?
The last time you were on, you're like, why don't you give me one of these old shows that's real? I want to watch one of these old shows.
I don't think I said that. And I think you actually
Let's go
told
back
me
to the tapes.
You
No, I
told me
think-
that I was going to be watching a British show.
I thought it was British. Before I started, I thought it was British. We talk about that.
When I started playing it, I was like, oh, this is that British show Luke was talking about. And then everyone was American. And then I actually thought that it was like, because it was British, they were doing a really bad job of doing an American, like they were a British company
Right.
trying to do an American show. And that's why it was so bad.
For whatever reason, I had convinced myself this was going to be a British show. I don't know if it's just because I think Quark is a funny British word. I'm not sure. But I was as surprised when I sat down to watch the first episode. I was like, wait, they're not British.
They're not British.
But
Anyway.
we'll go back to your last appearance and let the dragsters write in and tell us.
I guess so. I must
Did
be
Jane ask for
misremembering.
this? Did Jane ask for a rapey little dink? I think she might have.
What a terrible, terrible sentence.
Jordan, if anyone wants to know more about the show, they should write into you because you're a big fan.
Yeah.
They
I'm not a big fan.
can get us here at Continuum Drag. Oh, I always do this wrong. It's continuumdrag@gmail.com.
Yep.
And of course, we'll definitely have some clips from this. Evil twins,
Yeah.
getting old.
The black hole.
Kirstie Alley.
Kirstie Alley.
Oh yeah, I got to try to find
The
her.
Betty's new outfits. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much.
And dink, 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 dink.
Oh, good Lord. Yes, those will all be on Instagram and Twitter. At Continuum Drag is our handle. Jordan, it's been great doing with you again this week. I'll be interested to see how this all wraps up, how this whole series ties
Yeah.
all these plot threads
Yeah,
together in the
exactly.
final episode. But until then, see you next week.
See you then.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Drexciedler. Produced by Jordan Delic and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Yunes, Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, Jane McRae, and Stephen Packard.